All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Now we're awake. Episode number 229. Before I even start reading, Peter has no idea this is coming his way. And
what else is new? What else is new?
Surprise! This is for you, Mr. Coca-Cola.
I get one a year, folks. Yay!
Yeah. How to actually do one creative real estate deal per month.
That's right. That's my plan.
How to actually do one creative real estate deal per month. This podcast is dedicated to my very good friend, Peter the Rookie, only because he made a comment to me the other day that he would like to do one creative deal per month consistently.
Good
morning, Desiree.
That's right.
I lost my train of thought here. Consistently without me. So I'm going to do that again. So this podcast is dedicated to my very good friend, Pete the Rookie, only because he made a comment to me the other day that he would like to do one creative deal per month consistently without me. And this was a big cry for me that Pete really wants to and is ready to change his life around, which is awesome. So today we are going to approach creative real estate investing intelligently with a mini business plan or a type of blueprint mentally. I expect by the time we are done today, I can remove the trial and error method for finding and closing one creative real estate deal per month. And I want to grind this down to a very simple process so no one has a long runway of trying to get a Yale or Harvard education to just make some dough. Like most jobs, you should be able to do your week or two of training and get right to it. And Peter, you've done a bunch of rehab and give that again. Peter, you've done a bunch of rehab and retail deals with me. Now it's time to push you out of the nest and let you fly. So today is going to be a coaching session for you while all of our listeners hear what we do. And I expect they will appreciate this as much as you will. So let's get started.
Well, that sounds good because, that's supposed to be my role because I really came to you pretty raw those few years ago. So I represent the rest of the listeners who are raw, not so raw, bruised, battered, rusty, whatever that is, And I have done some awesome deals. We got some stuff going on right now. It's just, I think in my head, like, well, why can't I do a little bit more? Once you get my real estate income surpassed my music lesson income this year. I think I told you that last year. But I have this little dilemma called old age. I can't believe I'm getting old. It gets so weird because I don't feel old inside, but here I am. And I have to kind of get my game together and wrap things up so I have things lined up for the things I want to do.
Good.
So I got to wrap up just the volume. So I had this little conversation with the wife a couple months ago, and it turned out about one house a month for just a little bit, not forever, would take care of us. Nice. Everything I want to do. Yeah.
All right. So, Pete, let's start off with this. Every deal will need this. And there's 4 things.
And I have paper and pen. So I said to the wife, hey, why don't you listen to me? She goes, I'll be at work. Just turn it on. No, I can't concentrate on 2 things at once. I'm taking notes, honey, and we're using these tomorrow when you get home from work. 12:30 today. So go ahead, Bill. 4 things. So
Desiree says, Pete, you're only as old as you feel.
Well, in that case, I feel old. You're young, you don't feel bad. I look okay, but things hurt when you get old, Desiree. I made it a long time, but eventually it catches up. But I'm still kicking. Go ahead, Bill.
So let's do some. I jumped right in. I got to do the homework. I mean, the house cleaning or housework or whatever they call it. Yeah, housekeeping. Yeah. So wherever you're listening to us on this podcast, if you look in the description, there's a link there that has a bunch of free stuff, over 25 different kinds of free stuff. There's videos, scripts. There are checklists. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a bunch of free stuff there, documents, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so if you just go to wherever you're watching this podcast, just click on the link that's in the description, and it'll get you right to that page. Also, you're listening to us, we're speaking to Desiree, who's here practically every week, and a couple of the other guys will join us soon. We broadcast on Facebook Live and YouTube, as well as Twitter. And if you're on any one of those channels, you can send us a question while we're recording live, and we'll answer the questions. And as we're talking to Desiree, we will chat with you because you're on my big screen in front of me and I can see who you are. We record normally every Thursday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Today we're recording on a Friday because yesterday was Thanksgiving 2020. So that's why we're recording on a Friday today. But normally we record on a Thursday somewhere around 9:30 a.m. Sometimes we, two old guys, end up with, Emma's not here anymore. So we end up with some technical issues and we get delayed sometimes. But we're always around 9:30. Also, last thing is wherever you are, please like us or dislike us. Pete and I were just going over that. It's funny how that works. We were going over the dislikes. So we have, as of today, we have 1,220,000 downloads on our podcast, and we have like 7 people that have dissed us and really let us know how bad we really are. So Peter's like, those are pretty damn good stats.
Low. It's too low. The ratio of good guys and bad guys, we're missing something. They're sneaking by us and pretending to like us when we really don't. And saying nice things when they don't mean it. Come on, guys.
So anyways, make sure you like us or subscribe to us wherever you're listening, because we have a lot of good content here. We give the house away. Also, please go to my website, flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side, there's a button there for testimonials. Leave us a testimonial if you so wish. Good or bad, I get them all, and I see them all. So there you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, John. So here we go. So let's start off with this. Every deal, you need to have these things, Pete. Okay? Mm-hmm. So one is a way to find sellers, right? Which you would think I wouldn't have to state that, but I get a lot of support tickets. I just answered one this morning. How do you find motivated sellers? I get them often. So one is a way to find sellers. Okay. And the bigger you get, it's multiple ways to find sellers. Right. Because as you know, you're going to have to run more than one campaign to be consistent, because they go through seasons and markets, real estate markets and stuff. So number 2 is an opening call to pre-screen. So no matter what, you're going to have an opening call. This is not a type of business where it's like Amazon. You could just go on there, decide I'll take one of these and 2 of those, and they just send them to you. You're going to have to talk to people.
Yep.
Number 3, a closing call to make offers. And number 4, you're going to need to have a deal meeting to complete the paperwork. You're going to want to view the house and complete the paperwork. Now, that's done a little bit different virtually, which we'll talk about. But that's what you got to do. Now, I want to pre-emphasize this entire podcast with this. I am not talking about ugly houses today. What we're talking about is pretty houses. We're talking about lease options. We're talking about subject to or getting the deeds. We're talking about owner finance. We're talking about slot deals. You will find other deals like the rehab retails, and you will find wholesale deals and that kind of stuff. You just can use some of this, but most of it you'll deal with another way, which we've had other podcasts that show you that. Okay. So what Peter's talking about is using his Roth IRA that has a few bucks in it, to be able to buy properties tax-free because of his age, because he's 7 years old and he can do that. So, but he doesn't have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in there where he's going to be going and buying houses. He wants to be able to put up, a few thousand, 500, 1,000, none, $100, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And that's the feat that he's trying to overcome right now. Right.
Yep.
So let's go through this with detail. Okay. So we have to talk about way to find deals. We have to talk about opening calls and pre-screening. We have to talk about closing calls and making offers, and then we have to talk about deal meetings, right? Good morning, John Ramirez from Texas. How are you this morning? All right, but before we do that, Pete, so I want to make sure that we do this. Not only we go through these in detail, because it is a sequence of action that gets deals done on each and every deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to make sure that this is a sequence. It's if you don't do 1, 2 won't get done. If you don't do 2, 3 won't get done, and it keeps going, right?
Yep.
But like I said, before we do that, let's get the order of magnitude. You will need to fill your pipeline and have 1 deal closed per month. So I think I've taught this before in the past, like how do you get 1 deal per month? But I think that it's not been as concise as this. And maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I think that you kind of have it scattered around in your head. But when we bring it all together, you're going to realize that it's just pure volume.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is a rule of thumb, but it's a good gauge of what I have found and my friends, other people that I talk to have found, right?
Yeah.
You'll need to contact around 200 for sale by owners per month. Okay. Which is about 50 per week. Now that's extremely low. I know several of my buddies that do 50 a day. They contact 50 a day. Okay. But don't worry. Some of this stuff can be, we're going to show it to you. So it's easily, there's some automation we can show you. Okay.
Yeah. It sounds like you would need that for that kind of volume.
Right. So the first thing I would say with you is, are you contacting 200 people a month?
No.
Yeah.
No, I need ways to find leads better. Sometimes it's just we try one thing or I try something else. Mostly I have marketing going out and people contact me. So I get some, and they're pretty good leads, but I want to go after more. So that's what I'm working on, is finding the leads a little bit better.
Yeah. So that's why, I know you do yellow letters and you're doing signs, and those are great campaigns. And back in the day, they were sufficient enough to give us that many leads.
Yep.
Like back in the day, I would put out 25 signs. I'd get between 12 and 15 phone calls.
Yeah.
We don't get that anymore.
Nope. Still works, but it was a little better a month ago. It dried up a little during the holiday season, perhaps. I don't know, but there's some that comes from it, and they're pretty good leads. But then what? I got time. Next thing. So I want to add much more of the reaching the sellers myself.
So Desiree's correct. She says attracting motivated sellers course is good. And obviously I agree, because that's what it was designed for.
Yep.
So you're going to have to attract or contact. Now I'm just talking about contacting around 200 people a month. And I got to tell you, I did these numbers and I did these numbers and I did these numbers because I don't want to scare people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this is where and you watch me, Peter. All the stuff that I go through, and
mm-hmm.
you keep saying to me that I want to automate my business, and you don't want to do that, and that's not for you, and you just want to keep it simple. Well, I'm not trying to automate my business. I'm just trying to get the number of for sale by owner contacts up without me being on the phone 6 hours a day.
No, I'm all for that. Not to get into a long dissertation, but I think, and I may be wrong, but I think to myself, when there's lots of leads, you can be maybe more automated, meaning more text, more messages. And I think when there's less, you have to get on the phone earlier in the process, maybe talk to them a little more, just to help them along. That's what I think I'm seeing. So yeah, I want more automated to get more volume, and then I don't mind talking to them, see if I can convert them. If not, I just hang up and go on to the next guy.
So one of the guys that just coached us recently claims you got to talk to 100 people before you actually start getting good.
Yeah. Just in terms of being able to talk to them properly and not sticking your foot in your mouth or saying the wrong thing or not listening, probably not listening. It's talking to them is one thing, listening is another, which you've been talking about a lot lately.
Yeah. So, well, it's not even listening; it's the response you give them that they really feel like that they've been duplicated or understood, right?
Yeah.
So, but that we can get off into that tangent, which I don't want to do. More
Mhm.
importantly, I think that if you talk to anybody starting, if they make a commitment to talk to 20 people,
Mhm.
20 for sale by owners, they will at least get the concept of what it's like to talk to a for sale by owner. If you haven't talked to 20 or 25 for sale by owners and done some of our scripts, you have no right to query or qualify or use your own scripts because you have no idea what you're doing. Matter of fact, if you haven't talked to 100 sellers, you have no right to change the scripts
Mhm.
because you just don't know what you're doing.
No, I mean, when you're new at a subject, you don't have judgment yet. You don't have enough experience to make any decisions. I teach music, and on the first 5, 6 pages, people are telling me I want to do this instead. So no, you don't get that. You don't get to choose yet. Just keep going, then you'll know what you're doing better. So everything is like that. You have to go through it before you can make any decisions. You just follow the rules for a while, and then you'll see what's going on. You'll understand better.
Good. So we talk to these 200 people, or we contact these 200 people, right?
Mhm.
About 30% of those contacts, about 30% will agree to have an opening call
Mm.
or with either you or a virtual assistant.
Mhm.
The purpose of this call, this opening call, okay, is for pre-qualifying.
Right.
Right. So I want to clarify this a little bit mechanically here, okay?
Mhm.
So the 200 people I have found, now we use text magic. So we use a texting device to try to contact those 25 people.
Right.
It makes it, I'm sorry, to contact those 200 people.
Mm.
So it makes it a lot easier if you can upload a list to text magic and then send out 25 texts per day.
Mhm.
Right? Or 50 texts per day. In the beginning, I suggest you do 25.
Mhm.
Now, that'll get you somewhere around 25 a day. We'll give you 125 a week. That'll give you 500 a month.
Right.
Right? But it's manageable. So, out of that texting, okay, or that type of reaching, okay, and realize that texting has the best numbers because about 97% of people open and respond to text.
Mhm. Yeah, it's easy to read a
Somewhere in
text.
there,
It's easy to
right?
do.
Which is why I say, just putting it in context, putting it in context here. If you don't know how to answer that guy that says no, I don't want to do a terms deal,
Mhm.
you'll end the conversation.
Mhm.
So knowing how to respond, this portion of the business we're talking about, the pre-qualifying, is the most vital portion of the whole system. If you were to relate this to your body, it's the heartbeat,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you don't know how to do this pre-screening, if you don't know how to find for sale by owners, and you don't know how to pre-screen them, you won't be able to get your volume up. And if you don't get your volume up, you won't be able to do consistent deals.
Right.
Right? Like I have a coaching client right now that has been off renovating a house for a month. The house is freaking gorgeous. He did an amazing job. But I already know what's going to happen. He's going to put it on the market and he's going to come back whining to me that he has no leads now because he abandoned his deal hunting section of his business.
Yeah.
He didn't keep it going while he was doing the other stuff, which is once you start getting going, you're going to want to set these systems up so one doesn't get abandoned while you have attention on the other. Right?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you have two people in a business. One does one, one does the other. But if that's not the case, it's easy to slip on one while you do the other.
Which I'm talking about on this call because we're talking about consistently having a deal a month. right? So if you find a deal and then you got to go out and you're going to try to, clean it up and replace the rugs maybe and then go sell it, and your attention's on that for 3 weeks, and you don't do deal hunting, then you're not going to have another deal next month. You're going to buy one this month, sell it next month, which means you'll do a deal every other month.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is important that we talk about this today, because if you don't have that set up and you don't have it automated somehow, some way, it's good that you do it in the beginning. But if you want to, and you've done all this stuff for me, for you, and we have done deals, right? But what you're asking is it consistently every month, and that's where you have to come out of just doing it yourself and putting some automation in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just doesn't work. Right?
Sure.
All right. So the purpose of this opening call is to pre-qualify if they're willing to do a deal where you can pay them monthly until you can get them paid off, which could be 30 years down the road, or take a 20% to a 50% discount or more.
Sorry, what's the percentage again? I'm writing.
20% to 50%.
Okay.
So 20% is kind of like our subject to getting the deed, take over the mortgage payments. 50% is, or more, is like the house that I just closed on. It was worth $270. I paid $125. Right. But I had no trouble getting cash. So if you're going to do those deals, the way to get loan power or to get a lender is to create greed glands. Right. And the way you do that is not by sweet talking the money guy. It's by creating such a magnificent deal. They can't help but to want to get involved because they're in at $125 on a $270,000 house. I don't even know how much that is. 125.
Oh, gee, it's less than 50. 40? Between 40 and 45?
46%. Okay.
So just to clarify, I know we talk about ugly houses and pretty houses, but I'm not quite sure what this 50% is. It can be a little bit pretty, but is it in between the pretty and the ugly?
Doesn't matter. It's a cash deal. They only want to take cash.
Yeah.
So you're going to run into two types of people when you're on the opening call, right?
Yeah.
You're going to run into someone. So the question we would ask is, what's more important to you, to close quickly, or to get what you're asking?
Right. That's a great question.
So that tells us if they want to get what they're asking, then we would do a terms deal. Okay, well, I could do a slot deal with you and I could pay your full asking price, and here's how it works. Right? If they say that they want to close quickly, then you need to get and they're only willing to take cash, you need to have a significant cash discount. It doesn't matter if it's pretty or ugly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, at that price, that usually gives enough leeway for whatever needs to be done with the house. If it needs some improvement.
And so Desiree's asking, what if they say no? Say no to what, Desiree? You're going to ask them what's more important to you, closing quickly or getting your money, getting what you're asking. So there's no question there. But all it does is it puts a fork in the road so you know which path to follow.
Well, I guess she's asking for, I think a couple of times we run into the fellow who's like, I want all cash, I want it all now, and I want my full price right now, which is really unrealistic. But I think you run into that guy, don't we, sometimes?
Yeah. So she said we answered the question, so we're okay. So basically the opening call is just to determine that. Like, which direction are you going to go? Like, when I decide to drive to Florida, which I do often, okay, do I want to take, from Connecticut, do I want to take I-95 or do I want to take 278 to 81, the truckers route? Now, 278 to 81 is like 100 miles more, but it has no tolls and it's straight road and there's seldom traffic, especially if I'm driving at night.
Mhm.
Where 95 has tolls, it's 100 miles less, it has tolls and usually has traffic and usually takes me more time. There's a point when I'm driving from my house to there, I have to make the decision on which road I'm going to take.
Mhm.
Does this make sense? And it tells me what kind of experience I'm going to have when I take that specific road. Like if I'm going to go 95, I'm going to have to pay the tolls. There's going to be possible traffic jams, especially when I go through Washington and Virginia, and New York,
Mhm.
Manhattan. Like there's certain repercussions to it. Or if I take the other road, it's a trucker's route. There's no tolls. There are long exits, in between exits, they're desolate road, especially through Pennsylvania. And I just have to know that,
Mhm.
right? This opening call is letting us know which route we're going to travel. Now, it's probably a corny type of an example, but I'm trying to illustrate that the opening call is just to do that, nothing else.
Right.
Right? Which, by the way, if you do these pre-qualifying type questions, right,
Mhm.
it'll pull out the motivation.
Right. That's
It
really a really good question. Is something I have it written down in one of the scripts, but what's more important to you, getting your full price or a quick sale? It really helps you know
right,
what they want. It's really good.
right. So now I'm not saying that they have to divulge their motivation. It's just an indication of the motivation. We're going to figure out the motivation on the closing call, which is next.
Mhm.
All we want to know is, are they willing to take monthly payments until we can pay them off, or take a deep discount? And a deep discount is what I consider 20 to 50%.
Yep.
If they're willing to do one or both of those, then we're in good shape. Okay.
Makes sense.
Out of the 30%, that's about 60 for sale by owners that will agree to hear more about how it works.
Mhm.
So we said there's 200, right?
Yeah.
So we have to contact 200, right? Out of the
Mhm.
200, about 30% of them will agree to more on how they want to hear how it works.
Right.
Okay. So that's about 15 per week.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's just put this in perspective. Are you talking to 5 people a day?
You refuse to answer on the basis it may incriminate me.
Which brings us to our closing call, because if you're talking to 15 people a week, right, brings us to our closing call. Here you'll dig in and find out all their numbers, why they're selling, what their ruin or discomfort is, or their pain, their situation, their motivation, their hot button, whatever you want to call it. There's all these words are to me synonymous.
Yep.
Now, Peter, please hear me loud and clear. And this is not for you as much as it is for my listeners. Do not, please do not, absolutely, definitely do not give your offer until you figured this out.
Mm.
So one of my coaching clients, Bill Fusco said this, and I can't remember exactly. I should have wrote it down. He said a prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. I think that's what he said, if I remember
That's
it
good.
rightly.
So say I'm writing what you just said though. Don't give the offer until you know the motivation.
No, so you need to know what their ruin is. You need to know what their pain or discomfort, their situation, their motivation, their
Yeah.
go button, any one of those. You need to know that, because if not, then you are pretty much fishing in the ocean without doing any research.
You're using the wrong bait.
Well, it's not even using the wrong bait. You may not even be where the fish live. I mean,
Yeah.
you could be in 3 foot of water fishing looking for a whale.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen,
Mhm.
you know. Or you could be in the Caribbean fishing for seals. You know, it's just not going to be there. You know what I mean? Because you could just not only, yeah, you get the point,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Because the reason why is in this section, you want to create your offer based on how you can help them relieve the problem.
Okay. And now you may not be able to answer this because it's coming later. It's not part of today. But what I'm thinking is sometimes I'm talking to people and they start asking right away, "What's your offer? What's your offer? What's your offer?" Right.
Right.
So obviously you would circumvent that and not be disrespectful, but you would just keep talking until you knew more before you answered that, right?
Yeah. So do you want to role play it for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Because obviously the first thing, how much you get offered, right? They do that right away a lot.
Right.
All right.
So go ahead.
So you're talking to me, I'm the seller, and I ask the question, right? That's what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So blah, 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 blah. So how much are you offering for my house?
Well, here's the thing. I need to get a couple more questions answered first. The first question is what's more important to you, closing quickly or getting the amount of money you're asking?
Wow, closing quickly. Well, I'd like to get the amount I want.
Okay, good. So the way that would work is, and I just give them the offer. I give them a
Right.
slot deal or depending on what their loan to value ratio is. Now, if they're calling you, it's a little different. So I want to clarify this. If we're doing a for sale by owner script, we may
Mm-hmm.
not know how much their loan to value ratio is because we may not have gotten to that point yet.
Right.
So opening calls, I use FSBO scripts. Closing calls, I use the prospect suspect form, which you can find on our website on the free stuff page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So the FSBO scripts or the for sale by owner scripts, when you're doing outbound calls, I
Mm-hmm.
use those scripts and gather the information. When I get to the closing call and I have to start constructing an offer, I use the prospect suspect form. Now, when I'm doing that, I build rapport by talking about the house,
Mm-hmm.
which is how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, does it have a basement? Does it have air conditioning? Does it have a garage? Is it listed with a realtor? Right? Does it need repairs? When did you want to move by? That's
Yeah.
all rapport building questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully if you've done all that, you're ready to talk to them about the offer.
Right.
But if they start the conversation off, now let's do the role play again. Let's say you give this to me the first 3 minutes that I'm on the phone with you. I have no data.
Yeah.
So ask me the question again because I would answer it differently.
All right. So you don't have much data yet at all. Okay.
We just got on the phone and you're just being snide.
So yeah. So like I don't have time to waste. I just need to know what your offer is. So how much are you paying for my house?
So Peter, I can't give you a number. When you bought the house, didn't you look at it and have time to be able to go, inspect the house and go over the numbers and figure things out? I mean, you didn't have somebody just call up like it was Amazon and give you. I mean, you didn't buy the house that way, did you?
No.
Yeah. So I would like to have that opportunity. And if you're not willing to give me that opportunity, I totally understand. Just call me when you're ready and we will talk about it. But this is a major purchase, and I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing by me and by you. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen. You want 200,000 for your house? I'll give you 80,000, and it's not worth it to you. I don't even know if that's a good number. I just know that I have to go so low that if something happens, that I'm covered. And I don't think that's fair to you. Unless you want 80,000, then we don't have to talk any further. We'll just do the deal.
No, I'm not taking 80,000.
Yeah. So you see what happened is I didn't have to put the onus on me. I put it back on you. Like when you bought the house, you didn't do it that way, did you?
I've been learning I swear, like the last few years, Sorry, I got some. Do you hear that? Something ringing?
No.
I got something ringing on my end. Okay. Well, what I'm trying to learn the last few years of just living is asking more questions than just blurting out things in almost everything I do. So I thought halfway through what you just said was really good. The other half was really, really good.
Okay.
You know, because it was like, hey, you didn't buy a house that way. So I'm not buying a house that way. But, you didn't say it that way. But if they construed it like that, you kept going and make it look like, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. That's the best part to me. Like, if you don't do it, that's fine. Just call me when you're ready. You pull back right away because it's true. Like, if they don't want to do it, what are you going to do? Hassle them on the phone? Let them know. And then, no, I'll talk to you a little more. It's okay.
So listen to what you just said. What you just said was very key to this whole podcast.
Oh, good. I got something right.
if you do what I'm requesting you do, we're on an opening call right now, transitioning into a closing call. So we haven't even started the closing call yet, based on what you're saying, okay? If we did our job and we did what I'm requesting you do, you have 200 people to call this month.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to be a reluctant buyer, because one of my coaching clients, I think his name was Kingsley at one point, brought up a very legitimate point. At the end of the day, if they're asking $180,000 for their house, you're paying them $180,000 for their house. So they need to convince you that it's worth $180,000. Whether you're paying for it monthly, whether you're paying for it, all now, doesn't matter how you're paying for it. You're going to be paying $180,000 for it. And that shift in our investors, people like yourself or myself, until you make that shift in your mind that, yeah, I am paying $180,000. Yeah, they do have to convince me. Why am I putting them on a pedestal so they can look down on me? Why am I acting needy because I'm asking them for financing? Why am I doing that?
Bill, you know what that reminds me of? Going to a store like Christmas is coming. You go into the store and looking at a product, whatever it is, and you're looking at the price and you're looking at the salesperson. They got to convince you to buy it. Yeah. You walk out the door. You're at the mall. Walk to the next store. Like I'll go to Walmart and say, I'll go to Target. Wait a minute, I saw the same thing over there for less. When I buy guitars, I go to a store. I look at the guy and I say, what's your best offer? I said, blah, blah, blah. Well, I saw it online for such and such. The guy goes, oh, crap. He goes, digga on the computer. He goes, yeah, I'll match it. So who's got to sell me? I don't have to sell him. He's got to sell me. I walk out the door and go someplace else. That's a good analogy.
Unfortunately, and not to divert, but there is a process to every sale. And one of them is the investigation or discovery stage, right? So unfortunately, or fortunately, however you see this, whatever side of the table you're on, the internet has done the discovery stage, which has allowed people like Walmart to start their business. Because when you go on Walmart, the decision's made. You're going there to buy. You're not going there. You go to Macy's. Let's put it this way. You go to Macy's. As a guy, if I were to go to Macy's and want to buy my wife a dress, I would go to this woman's department and I would say, I want to buy my wife a dress. And he would ask me, what'd you have in mind? Or what kind of an occasion is it for? Is it a cocktail dress? Or are you going to a business meeting? Is it a casual thing? And he would help me do the discovery stage, right? So that's the difference. If I were to go to Walmart, I'm not going to get that same service.
No, it's true.
Because I've already done the discovery stage online. My wife said to me, this is the dress I want. And I know I can go buy it at Walmart and it's cheaper than going to Macy's. Right? So that's the difference between what we're talking about here. Your seller wants you to just go to Walmart and pay for it and take it out. And you're like, no. I'm still in a discovery stage here. I still need to figure out if this deal's for me. I still needed to figure out if I want to go through the hassle and the work to actually help you get rid of this house. Because once you get talented at this, which if you've listened to all of our 229 podcasts, you're talented at this. You have more data than you even need. Right? Than most people have, for sure. Right? So they have to not not wholeheartedly, but they have to convince you somehow, some way that you should continue
Mm-hmm.
because you got 200 people to talk to
Right.
minimum.
And to be fair, my analogy isn't perfect because uh, items bought at stores are uniform, like addresses, the same model dresses, the same model
Yeah,
dress made, and no house is the same as the next house.
that's
And you
right.
really have to look at them individually. So it's not that fair a comparison. But the idea is that I get your point. They have to convince you as much as you have to convince them. But you walk away, they still got the house to get rid of. You go buy something else if you don't like it. Not a good
So
deal.
the moral of the story here is that the discovery stage, which is what we're doing right now, the discovery stage is a two-way street. So not only is the seller trying to do discovery with you, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to do discovery with the seller.
It's true. He has to have confidence in us. We have to have confidence in him in the house, right?
Right. So I want that's right. So Desiree says, why is the sale of the house so important? Is a good way to ask them what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. She also brings up that I say very, very often my New York attitude is that's when I say, do you mind me asking? Like, what's going on? You had a good question we were using for a while, so let me ask you a question. When scan back in your mind when you decided you wanted to sell this house, what was going on right before that?
Yeah.
Because that'll tell you, like, oh, well, I was fighting with my wife, or, the basement flooded for the 19th time and I'm sick and tired of it, or, the guys drive, the cars drive too fast on the street and I'm just sick and tired of it, right?
Yeah. I just thought, people make decisions, whatever it is, to buy something, to do something, to marry somebody, and they make it at a certain point, and something must have happened. So I thought, when did you decide to sell the house? What happened?
So Desiree's saying, right. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off because I'm having a trouble with my ears. I mean, with the video. So Desiree's saying, why is the sale of the house so important? She's saying that's what she would ask in the beginning of the call when you're asking me for, prices and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So let's move on because we diverted quite a bit here and we're already pretty far into the podcast. So knowing what's kind of ruining them or what's, causing this pain or making them motivated is important because when you create your offer, you base it on how you can help them
Mm. Yeah.
with your experience or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to really clarify this because this occurred to me the other day when I was explaining this to a student. It's not your talent or your education. See, me, I've had a lot of experience doing this, and that's why everybody's here. There might be the guy that has never done this before, listening to us right now, or the girl that's never listened to us do this or never did this before, right? I want you to understand that speaking to somebody with this problem and being just extroverted, in other words, you're not in the problem with them, you're outside of the problem. Just talking to them from that stance or from that viewpoint is a big help with a person that does have a problem.
Yeah.
Like, suppose my daughter, which I don't have one anymore, but my 18-year-old daughter comes home and her boyfriend broke up with her and she's crushed, right? Now, I'm a guy. I don't know what that's about, being 18 years old and having, all that stuff going on. But if I'm not in the problem with her and I'm on the peripheral edges of the problem, I could talk her through it and help her just by communicating and just by acknowledging her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like for another example is, my son loses a wrestling match he'd been working on for a month and he's disappointed. Right. So I can just talk to him and just help him that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't need to be like some guru and know how to answer all these questions. It's just being human and just helping somebody with a problem and just letting them use you as a sounding board is a huge factor.
Well, in situations like that, you're actually helping the person find their own answer, which they kind of know in their head somewhat.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we talk on the phone and you're trying to figure something out on some strategy or some technique or like how do I apply. I'm just listening. I can't tell you things, but it helps just to let you talk and sort it out. And it happens to anyone, doesn't it? It doesn't matter who you are.
Right. So that's important, and that's a good viewpoint. So that's important. And all I'm saying is that when you're talking to them and giving them an offer, make sure you give these things back to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know that we're way diverted and I need to keep moving here, but another way to look at this, and I've never said this before because it's something, I guess, new. Everything has a sequence. You can't exhale air until you breathe some in.
Yeah.
Right? Everything has a sequence. Right? So in marketing, knowing the sequence is important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that I've been working on some advanced marketing that is not mainstream marketing. It's not like your Dan Kennedys of the world. I mean, I've kind of been underground and I've been buying my expensive books and just passing time with my marketing stuff because that's what I like to do, right?
Such a geek.
Yeah, sometimes. So take this perspective in lieu of this point. And I'm sorry we're spending so much time on this closing call because this is where the meat and potatoes are.
This seems all extremely relevant.
Yeah.
I don't feel off anything. I don't feel, if you didn't say off script, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. You have some notes there, but this is extremely relevant. This is where we lose it.
Right. So we are taught in marketing to talk about your features and benefits, right? AKA the solutions.
Mm-hmm. What I can do for you.
But what comes before the solution?
The problem.
So what you should do is you should talk about the problem, like I'm trying to come up with an example, like, have you not paid your mortgage in 3 months and facing foreclosure? That's a problem.
Like in a marketing question?
No, yeah, I'm just get the concept. I'm not trying to show you how to use this. I'm just saying get the question, right? And then you give the solution. Did you know that we have this deal called subject to? Now, obviously, it's not prettied up. The point is you bring up the problem first because here's the amazing thing that is really amazing is your mind always sees the problem first.
Sure.
And seeks the solution.
Can't imagine it being any other way, huh?
Your mind sees the problem first and seeks the solution. So why are you trying to deliver the solution first?
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. In copy, when I'm writing copy, and this is relevant here, when I'm writing copy, I can't just state the problem in the headline and then write 4 pages of copy about the solution. I have to do the roller coaster effect. I have to emotionally bring them up and down through the problems because there's more than one problem. Here, I'll give you this one. Like having trouble finding money for your real estate deals. Right?
Yeah.
I say, then use private lenders. They'll give it to you. Solution, right? But as I'm writing my copy, I'll be like, yeah, but then I bring up all the things about the private lenders. Well, the private lender wants to make sure that he's secure before he gives you the money. That's a problem. Solution is you have a deal good enough that he'll want to do the deal. And then you go down a little bit further and you
What
talk
if?
about
What if? And
yeah.
but what if? Because that's what people say. If you said, "Oh, you have trouble with private lenders," you give them a solution, and anybody at our meetups or in the audience or online will go, "Yeah, but what if?" And you give them a solution. They go, "Yeah, but what if?"
Right.
Until there's no more what ifs left, right?
So exactly right. So when you're making an offer, if you notice, I call it storytelling, but I've been a little bit more clear with this. I'll bring up the first problem that they have their attention on, like it needs rehab, and I don't want to put my money into it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, no problem. I can buy the house the way it is. Let me back up. Let me make it even simpler. The house I just bought.
Right.
One of the things I said to the guy was, well, I got to get it cleaned out. Well, here's the good thing with me. You don't have to do that. Just take what you want and leave. I'll do the rest. Right? Then I bring up another problem. But I want you to know that as soon as I get the key, don't come back looking for your stuff because it'll be gone. It's a problem. You got a hard deadline. Get your shit out of here before it's over. Because if you don't, if you don't take your stuff out of here, my guys are going to like sell it and throw it in the dumpster and it's gone forever. But I'll make sure I give you whatever date you want.
Yeah, that sounds like a solution.
Yeah.
And smart because you're avoiding the problem. Have you been through that one? Like somebody comes back later, where's my TV or something?
Yeah. Well, it hasn't happened in years, but yeah, they come back because most people, who wants to move?
Yeah.
Most people will drag it on, and it's not like they can call every relative they want, and they're going to run over and help them on Saturday morning. Right? Yep. My wife, as we were on the podcast, said to me at the top of the stairs, I'm going. You know where she's going? She's going to her mother's house, who just passed away like a week and a half ago, and they're moving today. They have movers.
No.
And they're moving all her stuff out.
Yeah.
And these three girls, her and her two sisters, are not looking forward to doing that. Right?
No.
And they even hired movers. But it's still something that, so, you know, people will push it off.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So does this make sense? I kind of went in, I dived in, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you put a perspective on it, like make sure you really have the problem and on the other pieces of it. Don't just jump to like, oh, I can do this. You know, just don't jump to the solution so fast that you might miss some concerns a person has. Like let them talk, find out what's on their mind, and just help them with all the details so they feel done, so they can move on and say yes to your offer eventually. Or you can make the right offer that they say yes to because you know what you're doing.
Correct. So
being paid.
I want to summarize this so we can move on. I want to summarize this, and then I'm going to just backtrack so we know where we're at in the process, and then move on. So the difference between me and you, or you and any one of our other students, right, is if you had these abilities I'm talking about right now, and you have this technology, or you have this experience, or you have this, whatever you want to call it, you will need less deals. You'll need less leads to make more deals because you'll convert them. In the beginning, if you don't know how to do all this stuff, just don't worry about it. Just go do it. Record yourself. And then listen to yourself talk and go back and figure out where you're strong and where you're not. And then go find the podcast in our episodes and get strengthened up on those. The difference between me and you, or me and any one of our students, is they just need to call more people than I do. I'll have the right answers and the right questions. It doesn't mean that you need to be a perfectionist to do this. It just means that you're going to make your mistakes and you're going to move on, and you just need to make more phone calls.
Sure.
Me, I'll make 5 phone calls and make a deal. You might be 25. A student might be 50. So the student that's 50, just make your 50 phone calls. All you're looking for is a motivated seller. And when you find one, you'll know it because they'll lunge themselves at you. And a motivated seller needs no training at all. All you have to do, you can make mistakes. You could be like, I've done it.
Yeah.
I'll go out and I'll do notary public and I'll sign all the paperwork. And then I get home and realize, I go over it with a coach or whatever who's helping me. And they're like, oh, you did that wrong. I'll call them back up and say, you're not going to believe this. I did all that paperwork wrong. We need to do it again. Okay. Because they want the deal to happen, if not more than you do.
Yeah.
So just make your phone calls. Just get out there and talk to enough people until you can practice and get better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So the only difference between having training and not having training is the amount of calls you got to make.
Right.
Okay. So let's back up. So at first we said we need to talk to about 200 or contact about 200 for sale by owners. About 30% of them will agree to an opening call, right? Which puts you at about 60 people, right? About 30% of them will agree to a closing call, which we just talked about. Just remind me to come back to the closing call because I want to keep moving. But please remind me because there's a comment that I want to make about the closing call. Just don't let me forget, okay? About 30% of these closing calls will result in a yes.
Oh, so there's 30% of the 30%?
Yeah. Right.
Now we're down to
which is
9,
about 4
10.
or 5 per week out of the 60.
Oh, that's right. We started with 60. Okay.
So that means 4 or 5 people will say yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here's the part that most people don't talk about because it happens all the time, but it's not sexy enough to talk about and this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Once they verbally agree to the deal, we go to the deal meeting. Right? Now, the deal meeting is where you're qualifying the house and doing paperwork, either verbally either virtually or physically.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, here's the stunning part. Only about 30% of those people you'll close with.
Gee, it's 30, 30, 30, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means you'll end up with 1 or 2 deals per month.
Yep.
Which is 30% of the 4 to 5. It's actually 1.5 houses per month, but we'll say, 1 month you'll do 1, another month you'll do 2, right? Yeah. You may do 2 deals 1 month and no deals the next month. Mm-hmm. It averages 1. As long as you do 12 in a year, then it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I haven't even gotten to the podcast. I just want to put. I just want to. Yeah, I just want to put in perspective what you have to do to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Give it a magnitude of effort.
Uh-huh.
Right. Now, these numbers change based on the rapid. So the COVID thing changed these numbers in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that just realized that that's coming back now.
So COVID made it harder for a while.
Yeah, well, you're finding 200 sellers may not be so easy in your backyard.
Yeah. It'll probably swing back a more positive way, for better for worse.
Yeah. Now, these numbers also change based on this rampant illness that we have in this industry.
Oh, there's another one on top of the actual illness. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's called foot and mouth disease. Or as we say, shooting from the lip.
Yeah.
Like shooting from the hip. The shooting from the lip means you're non-scripted and you're not asking the right questions, you're out sequence, there's things that happen that you may or may not even know you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that can judge whether you're doing a good job or not is closed houses.
Yeah.
So you could beat the numbers and percentages by simply having and knowing your scripts. It really comes down to these two talents. The whole business, Peter, strips down to these two talents.
Mm.
Being able to pre-screen properly and being able to find the ruin, problem, go button, reason to be motivated, etc., and presenting the correct solution at the right time.
At the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all these podcasts where I talk about asking a good question helps the percentages and closing ratios. And the reason why, which is the latest thing that I've been talking about, is a good question is important. So what's a good question? A good question will adequately bring out the right ruin or devastation. Problem, go button, reason to be motivated, action item, or overall emotional response.
Yeah. I saw that email you had sent out about that. That was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that again. So a good question will adequately bring out the right ruin or devastation. Problem, go button, reason to be motivated, action item, or overall emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
This guides the deal much like a thermostat for a furnace or heating system. Means the environment, then the results. So you have a thermostat in your house. If it's cold, it turns the furnace on. If it's warm, it keeps the furnace off.
Mm-hmm.
This is how your deals are. There's thermostats. There's little indicators that I try to teach you about, and you get them with the questions. And you need to know whether to turn the furnace on or turn the furnace off at every given question.
Mm.
Okay.
That made me think when I read that when you're talking to people, you should be watching for some reaction. If you
Yes.
get no reaction, they're just sitting there listening to you. Man, you must be really off, huh?
Yep.
They have to be like just talking to anybody. If they're just staring at you, what the hell are you talking about? They should be engaged and ask questions or have a reaction, get mad, get happy, something.
Yep. And if they're not engaged, which is a good point, if they're not engaged, then you're probably off base.
Way off, geez.
Okay.
We should probably practice that in just normal conversations without riling people up. But seriously, I hate chit chat personally. I just find it so wasteful. It's like, oh, you live in Hartford? Yeah, me too. Who cares?
Right.
Some important things. There's important things in life. Let's talk about those.
This is the reason why I talk about the roller coaster, where you bring up the problem, then a solution, and then you bring up a problem, and that's what keeps people engaged.
Yeah.
Because what do they think of first in their minds? The problems.
Sure.
Right. What do we react to? The problems.
Yeah. Well,
right?
That's kind of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Find a problem, solve it. Find a problem, solve it. That's kind of life.
So exactly. So that's how you keep people engaged. If you're starting to lose them, then either find the problem and talk about that, or leave the conversation. Often I'll ask them, is there something I said or did that you don't understand? You kind of just went blank.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some confusion? Or I'll tell you another thing, Peter.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is really, really vital. I don't talk about this enough. But suppose you said, I ask you what would have to happen for me to buy your house today. You say, well, I'm getting a divorce.
That's the answer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Getting a divorce.
Okay.
Doesn't really answer the question, though.
Why not?
Well, what do you have to do?
Right. what maybe.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm just trying to make a point here. So all I'm trying to say now is that whatever you tell me the answer is,
Mm.
I should repeat it back to you
Oh,
so I make sure I have it correctly. So
right.
you're saying, Peter, the reason why you're selling the house is because you're getting a divorce. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Right? Or what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Give me $200,000. So you're
Mm.
saying if I give you $200,000, you'll sell me the house?
Mm-hmm.
And they say
Yeah.
yes. Now it's not a sly move. Some people might think this is a trickster, and I'll be like, okay, so I can give you $200,000, just not in one lump sum. What I want to do is I want to give it to you $1,500 a month until I can pay you off. Could you do that? Right? It's important.
Yeah, I see your point. So no matter when you ask that question, as long as they give you a real answer, it just keeps the conversation going in a real way.
Well, it's problem solution, problem solution. So you keep bringing up. So like once I get into the details of the offer, it's like we're going to have to pay the conveyance tax, and it's going to be $1,300. Do you have that?
Hmm.
Right? Or you're going to have to. When did you plan on being moved out? That's a big one. That's a
Yeah.
problem. That's a problem. That's not a solution. When were you planning on moving out? Well, I don't know. I don't have a place to go yet.
Yeah.
Well, what if I have one of my guys help you find a place to go? Would that help you? See,
Yeah.
it's problem solution, problem solution. It
Yeah.
keeps them engaged because your mind is thinking of problems first. So it keeps them engaged by doing problem solution, problem solution, problem solution.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't know how to close on a house, most of them, or they think they know and they don't. Just the cost to sell worksheet alone is worth it because that's a problem. It's a problem that they're not even aware of yet.
Yeah. Well, they think they have no control of it. Whatever happens will happen, but it's not true. There's options. That's where we come in.
Okay. So now let's get into some of the automation and then we'll get out of here. Okay.
Wait a minute. You have one more thing to say about the closing call that I was supposed to remind you about?
Yes, except I forgot.
I knew you were. Anyways, yeah, you were. Yeah, I forgot.
Hang on. I get it.
You had something.
Son of a gun. I should have just did it then. I know what it is. So this is important for some heavy duty callers. It is very possible you won't do an opening call and a closing call. You'll do them on the same call.
Oh, okay.
So basically, once they say that they're interested in a terms deal or paying monthly until you can pay them off, or they're willing to do a discounted deal, then you immediately go into the closing call. What I
Right.
do is I switch forms from the FSBO script into the prospect suspect form, and I just switch hats. You know, like an engineer of a railroad wears a hat,
Yeah.
and the guy that takes tickets wears a different hat.
Yeah.
Right? They have different job descriptions. You're just going to switch from one job to another.
Okay.
Without them even knowing it. So it's possible to do one call altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You just switch the questions.
That's good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go from for sale by owner, because you have to realize that the purpose or the product of each call, the opening call is to find out if they're willing to do a terms deal or take a deep discount.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of a closing call is to give them an offer and have it accepted.
Yeah.
So there's two different products at the end of each call, but they could be on the same call. So once you get the product of, yeah, they're willing to take a 50% discount, you can now go into the closing call while you're on the phone with them and start talking about how that works and getting them to agree to do that. And at the end of the call, you could say to them, so we can close by Friday. Right. Then the product of the deal meeting is to take everything you talked about and put it in writing to legitimize it. Right. Either in a contract or a letter of intent, whether it's a purchase and sales contract or a letter of intent or an option agreement, any one of those.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could do all this in one fell swoop. I have had times where I've been on the phone with somebody at 2:00 in the afternoon, and by 4:00 that afternoon, I've got paperwork signed and I got a deal. Because they're like a subject to deal. Because I'll ask them the famous question, would you be willing to sell the house for what you owe on it? Yes, I would. I got to get out of here. And I got to do it by the end of the month, and it's the 25th.
Yeah. Sounds familiar. I think I remember that one.
Yeah. So I just get in my car and I just go. I move everything out of my schedule. I don't care what it is, and I go. I've been late for birthday parties. I was supposed to be to church events that I didn't show up for. When I hear that, I go. I do not make those people wait. And I go do the paperwork. Okay.
Snooze or lose.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's get into some automation ways that you can find the 200 for sale by owners each month. So we use, first of all, if you want, I'm not trying to plug this, but it's the best thing that I have recently. September of 2020, I started a deal hunting monthly course or a webinar. So once a month, the first Wednesday of every month, I talk about a different deal strategy each month. Okay. So that's $97. And if you buy that $97 package, I give you all of my deal hunting materials, which is about $1,400 worth of stuff. Once you pay for the first month, it's a month-to-month thing. You can cancel whenever you want. Once you pay your first $97, you get the whole $1,400 worth of materials. It's got, if you go on my website, you can see every one of them sites. It's attracting motivated sellers, whack the suspects, using the scripts. It's got all that stuff in there. So there's no way you cannot find deals. Okay. But I will tell you the fastest way to find deals right now is to go on Facebook Marketplace. And all you do is you use the sentence, would you be, I like to go into the rental section where they're renting places, mostly houses. And you could set the search engine to be rent to houses. And I just message them to say, because Facebook's not going to give you the phone number or the address because they don't want to expose people's names. I just send a message that says, would you be willing to lease for a year or two without the landlord or the obligations and then sell me the house?
And that's messaging right on Facebook, right on the platform, right? There's this message. That's the only way to get through to them.
I find a house and I just go right onto Messenger and I typed it in. Would you be willing to lease the house for a year or two without the landlord obligations and then sell it to me? And if they say yes, then ask for a phone number. Ask, I have offer packs. There's ways to automate that. I don't want to get involved with that today. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, RE virtual, you can see all that stuff there on how we do the offer pack. All right, so let me see here. JR says, what do you advise for first-time homeowners? What are some things to do and things to avoid when getting ready to make their first home purchase? Do you understand the question, Peter?
Looks like JR is looking to buy a house for himself, so we're not quite talking about that on the podcast today. Seems like a separate question.
Yeah.
Just something for himself.
So JR, if you send me a support ticket with a little bit more detail, I can help you. But I think that everything we're talking about could work if you're looking for a house for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought my house that way. The house I'm living in now, I've been here for 15 years or 12 years. So Facebook Marketplace is the fastest way. And I think that's what JR is talking about. Facebook Marketplace would work there too, JR. Just go look for a house there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, what I do is in Facebook, I start with the rentals because those are easier conversations because they're already renting it.
They're halfway there.
And then saying, what if I buy it later? And they're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. As opposed to going and talking to for sale by owners that are looking for 200,000 and you come along and say, how about if I give you 1,500 and you wait 5 years? Right. It's an easier conversation.
Okay.
But I would start with the renters because you may not have a lot of those in your area. Go through those and then go to for sale by owners. But you'll have enough leads just on Facebook. Facebook's pretty much replaced Craigslist. I understand why Craigslist is not making some changes, but that's the way it is. Okay.
And the same question is fine for renters or sellers, right? That first question.
Yeah. Okay. Second place is obviously Zillow. Zillow, you do the same thing. Except with Zillow, they have phone numbers there. So what we do is we get those phone numbers, the address, name, and phone numbers on Zillow as opposed to Facebook. We put them in an Excel spreadsheet and we upload them to a software called TextMagic, and we text from there. TextMagic costs $3.99 for a phone number and a half a cent per text. So for $10 or $20, you can get quite a bit done.
Yeah, and that the $3.99 is just to have your phone number, not for every phone number you call. It's just to have the number, so it's really cheap.
Yeah, so you're not using your cell phone. You're using a phone number that's not your cell phone.
Right.
Okay. And then the third thing is we use My Plus Leads, which I don't have an affiliate link to. I probably should, but I don't. But we use My Plus Leads. I think it's $29 a month for FSBOs, for sell by owners. And if you want to get expired listings, and if you want to do FSBOs and expired listings, it's $59 a month. You could definitely cheat them, right? By saying, by joining up for a month or two, getting the leads, and then not, because it's a month-to-month subscription. But you do what you want. I pay them every month. But here's the thing is they'll give you an Excel spreadsheet and you can upload that Excel spreadsheet into TextMagic. So thanks, Jorge. He says, Bill and Pete, you guys rock. Your content and accessibility are spot on. Love it. So John Ramirez said that Zillow stopped posting phone numbers. So John, last I heard, they did do that only in certain areas where they stopped posting phone numbers. There are ways around that. If your area still is not posting phone numbers, what you could do is go to a company called scrapingsolutions.com and they'll get the numbers for you. You'll pay for it, but they'll get numbers for you. So basically, Zillow is trying to cater, they're trying to monetize their platform because they're not making money. They're a publicly traded company and they're trying to make money. Kind of like where Facebook was and where Google was in the beginning. They were losing money and they're trying to monetize. So they're trying to cater to the realtor because they know 88% of for sale by owners will eventually go to a realtor to sell their house. And most people think it's because they're aggravated or they don't know how to sell the house, which it has some validity to it. But the real reason is because they're not doing what we're teaching you to do right now. They don't get enough leads. I mean, for us to sell a house, we got to get 100 to 125 or 30 people to see our ad. So we get 20 to 30 people through a house to get 1 to 5 offers. And if those 1 to 5 offers aren't good, we got to do it over again.
Mhm.
So I can guarantee you that a for sale by owner doesn't get 100 to 125 people to look at his ad and get 20 or 30 people through their house, which is why I think they fail as for sale by owners. And they end up going to a realtor because a realtor will do that.
Hey, Bill, Zillow question. I was looking the other day and I noticed that the numbers weren't there. Isn't there? What I was trying to find was a way to message them. And I didn't spend a lot of time because I think it was yesterday, Thanksgiving. But isn't there a way to message a person on
Yes.
Zillow? Like
Yeah,
you
so
would do on Facebook? You gotta.
yeah, they take the phone number off and you can send them a message. It's kind of tricky because they'll set up a message and I'll have 3 realtors and then on the 4th one will be the owner.
Yeah.
Right. So you just send the same message we would on Facebook.
Mhm. I'll have
Okay.
to look again because I was having trouble with the owner someplace, but I'll look again and let you know what I see.
Yeah.
Because, like, wait a minute, how do you contact the guy? He's still trying to sell the house.
Good. So
Okay.
these are the quickest and most efficient way, the effective way I know we're doing it and my students are doing it.
Mhm.
Okay, so go to Facebook Marketplace. You could do Fizbo, Zillow, Fizbo ads, and then My Plus Leads and Text Magic. Do all
Okay.
3 of those, you'll definitely get 200 names
Mhm.
a month. Okay. Now, opening calls are done with someone like you or a VA.
Mhm.
Okay. Calling and using the Fizbo script. So hiring a VA is a whole nother thing. I actually have a course on my site on how to hire a VA. You can go look at that if you want. I don't want to get into that today, but if you have the script and they follow the script, the VAs are pretty easy to train. You could train one of your kids to do it if you want, or your brother or your sister or something. This is the hardest part of buying houses, and it's the most labor intense part. This is why you're not doing one deal a month, is because you don't
Oh, yeah.
have this stuff in.
Oh, yeah, that's without a doubt, and I know that. That's what I'm working on at this point. I mean, I've worked through this system, so I understand it. I've done a few deals. It's not like I don't know what I'm doing. It's just a matter of, okay, how do we make it more? So,
Right.
I mean, anything's an improvement, but let's shoot
Well,
for something good.
and like I said, that's the reason why I'm trying to automate. It's not that I want to build a business. It's just that for me to consistently do deals, I need to automate the deal hunting portion of it.
Sure.
Right. And quite frankly, the biggest reason most fail in this industry is they don't make enough of these calls or contact enough new sellers to talk about putting them into their funnel.
Yeah. And other rookies and rookettes, do not be discouraged because I think I got lucky a few times in the beginning and found some deals without like a lot of calls. That first condo I bought, that was like, how'd that happen? I really didn't know what I was doing, but seriously, if you can make enough calls, just hang in there. You'll find somebody motivated enough that they'll just do it, and it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So I still have that deal. It's working just fine.
Yeah.
Keep
So
going.
John says he's surely lazy when it comes to this, and most people are. It's not just you,
Boy.
John. There's a whole fan club for that, right? So because of this part of the machine is broke, the rest of the cogs just don't move.
Mm-hmm.
You could study about making offers. You could all the podcasts we talk about, all the paperwork, just doesn't matter because it's kind of like building a race car and then not having gas to put in it. You know what I mean? Just what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Now, like I said before, you can get our pre-qualifying offer pack at flippinghouses4rookies.com/RE virtual. And I think they're like $37 or something like that. So what we do is if you don't want to talk to people and you just want to spit out offers, then you could go do that every day, spit out 3 or 4 offers a day, just using virtual offers. It's another way to do it. It's not as effective as talking to somebody, but you will get some attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Pete. So you and I are still old fashioned and we do direct mail and signs and get sellers to call us.
Yep.
Doing it this way is easier because all the work is done in the direct mail setup, and I have that experience knowing who to send the mail to. So it's either you spend the time figuring out who to send the mail and setting up that system to do that, or you spend the time to get on the phone and the time and the money to do direct mail. Or if you don't have money and you have time, then just get on the phone and just start talking to people. Right?
You know what I equate this to, Bill? If you want to make money just in jobs, you either get trained at college or university or trade school, learn a real skill, spend the time and effort to learn, be a lawyer, be a plumber, electrician, just something with a good skill to make a bunch of money. If you don't do that, you're going to have to just work.
Yeah.
You know, dig ditches, dig, you know, grunt your back. So it's one or the other. There's no like, like the guy said coming out of America's Got Talent, I want to start out in life rich and famous. Nope. Yeah. You got to work one way or the other.
Yep.
So pick one or both. I don't know.
Or just to your point, an actor or actress has to work on their scripts before they can. You know, there's work involved. So
they take coaching, they take classes, they work in small crummy plays for years. You know, you have to earn it one way or the other. Now or later, here we're going to work it.
So doing that's good. So doing direct mail is an easier way to do it once you figure out how to do it, which I have a yellow letter course, which you can watch, right? Uh-huh. It's more expensive, but it does a lot of the pre-screening for us, right? And it increases closing call ratios. But as you are what am I trying to say here? Technology is making this harder and harder to do, the direct mail.
Really? Technology? How?
Yeah, because not everybody responds to mail, but there's something like 93% respond to text.
Right. Well,
so
things do shift.
Even though you can get it delivered, it's do they get to see it, because technology is a much quicker communication.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So now I'm almost done here. Let's cover the closing calls. This part, I think you have to improve a lot over time. The only thing I can say about this is what you say or what you don't say determines how much money you make always. So stick to the scripts.
Yeah.
Right? Now here is the thing. In the old days, we would do this by going to the house, but COVID taught us that we can do this virtually if we want. So if you're doing this outside of your area, you could do it with, going to the house with boots on the ground. We use a company called wegolook.com. You can use FaceTime with the seller. Zillow has a tool on Zillow.com/marketing/3D-homes. And it's an online free platform that you can use to get the seller to put their home on a virtual platform. So it's Zillow.com/marketing/3, the number 3, the letter D -homes. Okay. Whatever you do, if it is not someone you are paying to take the pictures or the videos, do it live so you can make sure that the seller isn't hiding something. So if you're paying WeGoLook, then you can instruct them what to do. But if it's just the seller giving you pictures, right?
Well, you're saying he's going to show you the good pictures and not the bad ones, Bill?
Yeah, he might forget some rooms. So then if you send them their offer pack, it gives you a good reason to call and talk turkey. Mm-hmm. So it's another pre-qualifying step, right? So if you're calling for sale by owners, you could do the pre-screening, you could do the closing call, you could do the deal meeting, zing, bing, zing, bang, boom, and that's it. But if you're a little bit more introverted and you don't want to talk to people as much, you could send offers, like I said, 2 or 3 offers a day. And then, with the offer pack that you can find at flippinghouses4rookies.com/RE virtual, you can buy that. It's $37, which is a steal. I don't know why I haven't taken that down, but it's still there. And then just send out offers, 2 or 3 offers a day. And then, 3 or 4 days later, call people up and say, did you receive my offer? And then it starts the conversation in the middle of the closing call. Okay. So just don't, what I've been finding lately is something we've changed with the offer pack is just don't send the cash offer in the 3 offers in the offer pack, right?
Mhm.
Because what happens is it cuts down on the amount of sellers that will pick up the phone when you call them back. They kind of ghost you. So if your cash offer is going to be 70 cents on a dollar and they see that and you call them back in 3 days, they just won't talk to you.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing is sending the offers so that the 3 terms offers, there's 3 terms offers there, and we tell them we will call them and do a little bit more of an evaluation with them and then give them the cash offer verbally.
Okay.
And at least they'll pick the call up and they can at least hear, they'll at least let us talk to them.
And you are you saying you can do the cash offers without seeing the house?
Yeah, well, yeah, because if you just do a good comp with it, which the offer pack will do, the offer pack will, if you do what you're supposed to with the offer pack, it'll give you a good comp. And then it's just a mathematical procedure.
Okay.
And then the paperwork is either done at the house for slot deals, option deals, and rent to own deals. If you're passing a deed, you'll need to close with an attorney or a closing agent.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that needs a deed will need to have a attorney, closing agent, or something like that. Anything that doesn't have a deed, like a slot deal, option deal, and a rent to own, you can just do kitchen closings with those.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't take your time, if you don't take your time and do this correctly, you'll spook the sellers. So when you're doing your paperwork, especially virtually, I use DocuSign. I'll get the person on the phone or on a Zoom call, right? Send the documents while I'm on the call with them. So I'll call them and say, hey, Pete, I got your documents ready. You got time to cover them? We're going to need about 30 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
You go over everything, explain each paragraph.
Right. What's your email address? And then I send them the document. Did you get it? Okay, good. Open it. Okay, good. What do you see? Okay, good. First paragraph. And then I paraphrase it. This is what that means. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, good. Initial it.
Mm-hmm.
Second paragraph. This is what it is. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay, good. Initial it. And I walk through the documents. You will not get people to just sign contracts without doing that.
It's too scary.
Yeah. Well, they just have too many misunderstoods.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get it. There's too many. The questions come up. They can't answer them, you know. So that's the meeting call. And you could either do that in the house with them or you could do that virtually, whatever makes you feel better. Okay. By the way, I use this a lot for other things, but we use freeconferencecalling.com. freeconferencecalling.com. So you could just tell your seller to call you at the phone number and enter the PIN number, because then you could record it all if you wanted to. I don't do that. I just call them on my cell phone. I put my cell phone on speaker. I put my microphone down to the phone, and I use Audacity to record all my stuff. Although I have software that we're using now that has a recording device in it, so we use the software. It's a CRM that we're using. That you make the calls right from the CRM, and all the calls are recorded. Okay, JR says, what's your advice for buying foreclosure homes? I just saw a listing for $25,000. What is the best way to flip this house? JR, just go to my front page. It says go to Flipping Houses for Rookies. It says I think, let me go see what it says. I forgot what it says all the time. Creative Real Estate Deal Making 101. Creative Real Estate Deal Making 101. It's right on the front page of my website, and it's a free course. Just put your name and email address in there, and then go to the rehab retail section, and there's about a 45-minute video there that will answer that question. Okay. So go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, go to the section where it says Creative Real Estate Deals 101. Once you're in that portal, which by the way, anybody listening, if you haven't done that, you should do that, because I explain all 7 of my deals there. I explain how to mathematically figure out which offer to make, how to make the offers, and then the results you get once you buy it, how you make your money. So you should go listen to all them anyways. Okay, JR? Okay, so like I said, I use Audacity on my computer and I record the calls, which you should do so that you could see, so you could hear yourself talking to your sellers, and everything is good, right? All right, so what'd you get, Peter? What's your plan? Was this helpful to you?
Yeah. This is basically what I wanted to do. I just needed some details, because I know some things changed, like the phone numbers aren't on some of the sites anymore, and I've used TextMagic a little bit, and yeah, so there's a couple of details I have to just pull out and just get how to do them, physically, how to upload things. Some of these things I don't do all the time, but between me and my wife, we figure them out, because she uses computer, I do, and uploading Excel and things like that we can do.
Good. So you feel like you have a plan? Good.
Yep.
All right, good. So I'm going to end off because we're 6 minutes further than I wanted to go. I just wanted to say, everybody on the call, thank you very much for all your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the support tickets. Thank you for actually taking our advice and engaging and actually doing deals, because we have a lot of, we don't talk about that enough. We have a lot of people that do deals from this podcast. And I really appreciate that, just because my goal in life is to help this industry. And I would really like to, before they put me under the grass, create an association that will put all creative real estate investors together, so we can all communicate with one another and be like the Realtor Association, and actually have a group, and we're known to the seller as that group, that we are another way that they can sell a house, not an alternative way, because we're the original way, because realtors didn't come on board and license themselves until the 50s. So what we do is what's been happening for thousands of years. And I think that, much like, not to get political, but much like the Democrats seem to run the CNNs and CBS and NBC, and, they're in the school systems, and, they're in Hollywood, and they're on all these places giving their messages, and the Republicans are on what? Fox News and some podcasts. So it's like, I don't want to be political here, but obviously the Democrats have more avenues to get their message out, right? And I feel like that's how it is with realtors. They have more avenues to get their messages out. We don't have enough avenues because we're not even organized yet, right? So I don't know if I will ever pull that off, but I do have that aspiration someday to be able to put a bunch of investors together, create some like a code of ethics, and actually start licensing people as for sale by owner agents, and actually putting together a group, and actually getting stronger and stronger. So that's why I do a lot of this. So you understanding and you doing deals and you out there talking about this kind of stuff is very important to me, because someday we will be known as the group to not mess with, because we can go in and make 7 offers, and we can buy creative real estate, and we can do a lot of things that a lot of people don't know about. And believe me when I tell you, when I started 20 years ago, I didn't tell people I did real estate, Peter, because when I did, all I got was, oh, you listen to one of those info for the night and you bought it, huh? And it was like voodoo, Carlton Sheets, he was like $300, and it's like, I would talk to sellers and they're like, you bought that Carlton Sheets course, right? Now, 20 years later, it's completely flipped, using that word intentionally. It's flipped. Now it's like prestigious to be able to be a creative real estate investor and know how to do this, because there's so many people, the reality TV shows change that. So I'm proud to be here and where I am in this time. So when I say thank you for all your support, I really mean that, because I don't feel like it's just support for me, it's support for the industry. And the more of you that are out there and understand how this works, and the more of you that are out there that can explain to other people that this is not a sham, that it's actually better than the realtor system, the more real it becomes to our sellers and our buyers, and the more deals that you and I could make because more of us are talking about it. So that's my intention for doing all this. Believe me, I don't need to do a podcast every week. Right? I don't need to have any of my website stuff and my coaching every week. I make enough money just with my real estate. Just with my rental properties alone, I could live. I wouldn't have to buy another property if I wanted to. So, I mean, the people that think that I'm just, about the money, then they're in the wrong place. So John says, thank you for spreading the knowledge, which I really appreciate, because that's what I want, John. Just go tell your friends that this is possible. And the more sellers you talk to and the more buyers you talk to with this type of language, the more it will spread and the more people will know that it's real as a heart attack. This can be done every single day and is done every single day, right? I mean, just the fact that 10 years ago, I would never think of closing in an attorney's office, and now I do, is just, just proof of the movement. You know what I mean? So in 10 years from now, I don't even think it'll ever be a question. I think we will be the elite. So, because we'll be helping a lot of people. So,
Bill, you're a man ahead of your time.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm a man with a big head is more like it. So,
as long as not a fat head.
Yeah, well, I got that too. So, anyways, to end off, just make sure you go give us a review. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/podcast, you can give us a review there on iTunes, or if you're on Stitchers or Google Play or any one of those places that I had no idea that we're broadcasting to, because Emma takes care of all that stuff. Just go leave us a review. If you want to go to our page, Flipping Houses for Rookies, on the top right-hand side are all the courses. There's contact us. You can leave a support ticket if you have questions, if you have ideas, whatever. If there's some way you want to communicate to me, just do it there. I answer those support tickets several times a day. And as well as you can go to the podcast and leave reviews there. Okay. So again, thank you for being with us. A little bit longer than I wanted to be today, but I think we got our point across. I think we got Pete a plan, and I think a lot of people can learn from that, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Good.
How's that?
Yeah, very good. Thank
you. It helps me. It helps them. It helps everybody, because there's a lot of details here.
Yeah.
This isn't a call later and buy this and that. There's a lot of details here.
All right, sir. So I'm going to go over and out. I got some errands to do. I got a crew working on the house. I got to go buy paint. I got to do all this, blah, blah, blah. So there you go.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.